It's watching news in Horizon. Now, a coalition of pro-democracy organizations in Nigeria has faulted the Independent National Electoral Commission's plans to transmit the result of the 11th of November Bayelsa governorship election manually. The group said that planned manual transmission of results for the governorship election was an attempt at allowing desperate politicians to manipulate the will of the electorate during the election. The group said that it believed that the integrity and credibility of any election depended on the transparency of the electoral process, including the accurate and timely transmission of results. For a conversation on that subject, we're now being joined by the Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, Auwal Rafsanjani. I want to say thank you very much for joining us here on Newsday. I'll read in this particular story.
Thank you very much.
The first question that pops up in my mind is, why are we oscillating when it comes to transmission of result at this stage of our electoral process? Shouldn't we be celebrating that we have stability rather than in one off-season election we are transmitting results electronically, in another off-season election we're transmitting results manually?
Thank you very much. This is a huge concern for anybody who loves this country, democracy, to succeed. The sustainability of democracy in Nigeria lies on free, fair, and credible election. And if people in authority are using their powers to undermine free, fair, and credible election in Nigeria, it is invariably undermining democracy. And incidentally, they are the greatest beneficiary of democracy dividends, because many Nigerians who are struggling to survive, who have also opted for democracy in Nigeria, they have not seen the dividend of democracy because it has been hijacked by those who did not wish to have, a credible election in this country. And therefore, they are doing everything possible to undermine any transparent process that will enable Nigerians to actually have confidence in our electoral system. For example, Nigerian government spent huge amount of billions to deploy technology process in our electoral process, and we have seen the value of using the technology in our election. Now, suddenly, some people who are desperate to capture power, not through the popular vote, but through the manipulation and rigging, are now spanning and making desperate effort to ensure that all the billions we have spent to deploy technology are wasted. Nigeria invested, more than 27 billion naira with the promise that our election is going to have a technology component, which we all believe that it has a credibility, it has value, it allows Nigerians to vote once they are registered and they are confirmed. It is also helping to ensure more confidence in the electoral process. It is also an opportunity to improve in what happens in 2023. But if somebody now is trying to draw us back after huge success that we have made to ensure that we minimize rigging and double voting, and they now want us to come back and do manual election, I think it's very clear message that those people did not wish Nigerians to have a solid democracy, did not wish to have Nigerians to have free, fair, and credible election, did not wish Nigerians to participate in the electoral process in the country, because as a result of fraudulent election and electoral violence, which occasioned by all this manipulation by some desperate politicians and their allies in other governmental agencies, we are not able to have the needed democracy or the needed stabilization in the electoral process, and also imposing or rather having confidence in the electoral process. It took civil society organization, particularly Transition Monitoring Group, to mobilize Nigerians to assure them of what INEC had promised the nation, that they are going to organize free, fair, and credible election using technology to eliminate multiple voting, to eliminate all sorts of fraud in the electoral process, and ensure electronic transmission of results. Nigerians believe in civil society, will mobilize them. At the end of the day, now we are seeing what desperate politicians and desperate government officials are doing and wasting public taxpayers' money to come back to analog process, which is easy for them to manipulate and hijack the process. So I think whoever is behind this attempt to return us to analog voting, it is simply clear that they did not wish us to have transparent, free, fair, and credible election, and that means that many Nigerians will be alienated from participating because Nigerians already are disenchanted and they feel that they are not getting what the countries said that they promised to do in order to ensure free, fair, and credible elections. So, Nigerian electoral body and the government must rise up to the challenges of concern from Nigerians and even international community. We cannot invest this much and then we come back to analog because of some few clique of powerful, hungry power elements who want to capture power for their own self-centered interests. We cannot afford to continue to undermine election that can help bring in credible people or credible process that we can even showcase at not only Nigeria but also at a regional and international level. We have a lot to lose if we adopt this manual process, which in the past it has not helped in terms of having free and fair as well as credible election. So it is really shocking and surprising to many civil society organizations, particularly Transition Monitoring Group, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, and other civil society organizations who have been working day and night to ensure electoral transparency in Nigeria, to see that some elements within the government are plotting to deploy manual process in the election so that it will be easy for them to manipulate, it will be easy for them to cause chaos and violence during the election. This is condemnable, this is unacceptable, and anybody who is nursing this idea must, stop that.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Rafsanjani. Now, considering the technical glitches that INEC experienced during the presidential elections, could that perhaps be the reason why it wants to transmit election results in Bayelsa State manually?
That is not a reason, because we have seen how the same technology was used in Osun and Ekiti, and we all uploaded INEC for using the technology. So all we need to do now is to improve in what we have now, not to distancing or not to abandon what we have all seen as a remarkable success compared to when it is being used manually. So INEC has a responsibility to learn from the errors, from the mistakes, of what happened in the previous election, and improve in whatever system that it has, so that we can actually make progress, rather than abandoning what we have invested so much and what we have put so much hope in. We cannot spend 27 billion and then waste that resources, also waste the learning that we have learned from the election conducting through the technology. We must improve in the technology. We must ensure that we are determined as a nation to give way to a free, fair, and credible election. We cannot continue to allow some few powerful people who have come to purchase power and use it for their personal interests. And that is why we cannot see development. That is why we cannot see anything that can lead to having peace, stability in the country, and also having a responsible governance. Because if some people, their motive is just to steal, is just to divert the public taxpayers' money, then that's a big challenge, and we must resist from allowing such kind of element who did not wish Nigeria and Nigerians well just to come and capture power either at the state or at the national level. We must compel them to do the needful. We must demand and agitate that the rights of having free, fair, and credible election is established in Nigeria, and INEC cannot be, misused by anybody to perpetuate their evils. As a matter of fact, what I expect INEC and its leadership to do is to rise up to ensure that they protect their integrity, their names. Because if Nigerians are losing confidence in the leadership of INEC and INEC generally, they need to rise up and show through these elections that they are not actually compromising, and they are determined to make sure that whatever error, whatever had happened in the previous, they are ready and willing, and they are sincere to committing towards improving that. But if you now drag the country back again through manual analog process, it means that whatever allegation Nigerians are putting before you, it might be then justifiable. But it is important that INEC and its leadership rise up to stop whatever somebody is pushing them to do that will undermine totally the integrity and independence of the body, because we need to have INEC that is free of electoral manipulation by politicians, by whoever is in power, whether in the security or whatever position they find themselves. We must invest in confidence building. We must ensure that the process is transparent. We must ensure that Nigerians have believed in our institutions. We cannot be running governmental institutions and Nigerians, they don't believe in it, and Nigerians, they don't believe in their ability to do anything that is right. That is not good. That is not good for the nation building, and that is not good for democracy. And democracy must not be built on the basis of fraud. It must not be built on the basis of electoral manipulation, electoral violence, and abuse of power. It cannot also be used on the basis of purchasing election. You cannot do that, and that is why accountability is difficult in Nigeria, because people believe that they bought their way and nobody should subject them to accountability or to responsive governance in Nigeria. We cannot continue with that kind of fraudulent process in the name of organizing election in Nigeria. We must rise up to the challenges, because many of us have given our lives and our comfort for us to have democracy that can be able to free us from violence, can be able to free us from the stagnation, economic stagnation, hunger, poverty, hopelessness, and unemployment. Nigerians dedicated their life to have democracy with hope that democracy is going to set them free from violence, from criminality, from lack of comfort in life, and misery of poverty, and all this outright looting and stealing that public officials are doing. So therefore, we choose democracy because democracy has given that freedom to express yourself, to participate in the socio-economic and political development of your country. And now, if some people through their fraudulent process, they want to step in Nigerians, they want to draw Nigerians back to those eras of analog, manipulation of election, then that is a serious concern, and we must all rise up as patriotic, responsible citizens to say no to such kind of people.
All right, Auwal. Looking at, you mentioned INEC probably restoring confidence in their ability to be able to conduct a free, fair, credible election here in Nigeria. With all that has happened, and with the myriad of excuses that always crop up every single time, how do we get to a point whereby, or what can be done to ensure that the Independent National Electoral Commission is fully autonomous, well-funded, and are held accountable enough to deliver the mandate of the people to the people?
Yeah, so one of the few things that you must do, urgently, is to stop appointing political party card-carrying members into the INEC leadership. If you continue to appoint, card-carrying members of political parties in Nigeria, definitely this manipulation, this control, these interferences will not stop. So the Constitution is very clear. The Constitution discourages and did not, in fact, prohibit anybody from being appointed if you are a card-carrying political party member, whether ruling party or opposition party. But unfortunately, over the years, there's this flagrant disabuse or abuse of the constitutions, as it were. That's number one. So we need to put people with sound integrity, with competency, without bias into our electoral unfair as commissioners or as even workers. That's number one step. Number two step is to ensure that the needed resources are provided for them to do that, and National Assembly put oversight in it, not oversight that will come to them with also material benefit. It must ensure that oversight are done with view to ensure compliance of the law, the policies, and also the integrity into the electoral process. The other thing that I also want to say, political parties in Nigeria must rise up beyond just only being active during election, but even outside the election, they must participate and be active and be able to support the process of building electoral integrity in Nigeria. If all that some political parties will do is to wait until the election comes and then they do negotiation, step down for someone else, that will not help to build a vibrant, constructive political party opposition in the country. Again, the media and the civil society must continue to watch, must continue to expose leakages, must continue to work with INEC to ensure that INEC gets the feelings of Nigerians at local and national level so that they can improve the work that they are doing. We must also learn from the advanced democracies where elections are done. In Nigeria, election is about contract. It is about like do or die, thing to capture power. In other places, you are conducting election, you do not give holiday. But in Nigeria, you give holiday because you have planned to perpetrate, to make sure that you cause mayhem, you manipulate the process. In some countries, you even vote through the mails, but in Nigeria, election has become a conduct for corruption. It is all about contract, how much you will make from it, how much the security will make from it, how much the other government agencies will make from it, how much the INEC staff themselves will make from it, how much political parties will make from it. This is not what we need, and that is not how we can make progress. That is not how we can restore confidence. We need to make sure that election and the electoral process are sanitized in this country, and that is why I'm calling on the president of Nigeria to ensure that there's electoral reform again, because we cannot get tired of reforming. Whenever we see lapses and lacuna, we must reform it to block it. We must also ensure that we organize political party conference reform in this country so that we can actually even sanitize the way and manner in which political parties conduct their affairs in this country, because accountability and internal democracy is seen to be lacking in our political parties' activities in Nigeria, and that is not good. And this is the reason why after Nigerians have suffered to vote, and then judiciary will now be the one to award the remarks, I think we need to stop that. The political parties must get it right, INEC must get it right, voters must get it right, so that we avoid a situation whereby it is now judiciary that is awarding or that is confirming somebody has won election who has not won election. I think this use of technology or this use of technicalities to deprive Nigerians from what they voted should be discontinued, because Nigerians did not appoint judiciary to be the one to be given, or awarding positions, in this country. And the only way to avoid it is to ensure that we follow the due process as political parties, as INEC, as candidate ourselves, the electoral themselves, so that we avoid a situation whereby now it is the court that is deciding the fate of millions of Nigerians who have voted for a particular candidate. Lastly,
Auwal Rafsanjani, Executive Director. Mr. Auwal Rafsanjani, Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.